All right, so getting ready for an anodizing machine operator interview can feel a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it can.
But the good news is we've got some awesome RoleCatcher resources to help you out. And it's not just about nailing those questions.
Right.
It's about truly understanding what makes someone successful in this field. It's like having a secret weapon for your interview prep.
What I find really interesting about this role is that it's a really cool blend of technical skill and precision. It's not just about operating a machine, you know?
Right.
It's about understanding the science behind it all, ensuring a high-quality outcome every time.
I totally agree. And that's where RoleCatcher's insights into the industry and the typical questions they ask are so valuable. So let's jump into some of those common questions hiring managers love to ask, starting with, describe your experience with anodizing processes. Now, I know what you might be thinking.
Yeah.
What if I've never actually worked with anodizing machines before?
And that's where showcasing those transferable skills is key. Have you worked with metals before at all?
Good point.
Operated any kind of machinery, followed detailed procedures.
Yeah.
Even something like a school project where you had to create a specific finish on a material could be relevant.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
It's all about connecting the dots for the interviewer. And you know what?
What?
This is where RoleCatcher's AI can really come in handy.
Oh, tell me more.
Their CV and resume builder can actually tailor your application to highlight those transferable skills based on the specific job description you're looking at.
I love that. It helps you present your experience in a way that really resonates with what they're looking for. So building on that experience question, they might dig a little deeper and ask, how do you ensure the quality of anodized products?
It seems like quality control is a big deal in this job. What are some things people should mention that go beyond just saying, I check the product?
You want to think about all the different aspects of quality. There's the visual inspection, of course, checking for imperfections, inconsistencies in the finish. But then there's also testing, measuring the thickness of the anodized layer, checking for color consistency if it's been dyed, and performing durability tests, making sure it meets the standards.
So it's not just looking at it, you're putting it through its paces.
Exactly. And then there's documentation, too. You need to be able to show that you followed all the proper procedures, recorded the results accurately. And, traceability is key here, making sure everything can be traced back to ensure consistency.
I'm sensing a theme here. Precision, attention to detail, a really systematic approach.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of maintaining that precision, another question they might ask is, how do you maintain anodizing equipment?
So this is where those hands-on skills really come into play, right? What kind of things should you highlight here?
You want to show them you're comfortable working with machinery and that you have a proactive approach to maintenance. So talk about troubleshooting. Have you ever figured out why a machine wasn't working properly? What about repairs? Have you fixed something that broke down?
I bet even basic things like cleaning and lubrication are important.
Absolutely. Preventative maintenance is key. It shows you're thinking ahead and taking steps to keep those machines running smoothly. And if you have any experience with calibration or optimization, even better.
Oh, yeah.
It shows you understand how to get the best performance out of the equipment.
And this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful, right?
Totally. Their interview practice feature is awesome. You can rehearse your answers and get AI-powered feedback that's tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
It's like having a personal coach helping you refine those responses.
Exactly.
That's so cool. Okay, let's shift gears to a crucial aspect of any manufacturing job, safety. I'm sure they'll want to know how you ensure safety when operating anodizing machines.
This is non-negotiable. You absolutely need to demonstrate a strong understanding of safety protocols and procedures.
What are some key things people should cover?
Start with the basics. Personal protective equipment. You're working with chemicals, potentially high voltages, so knowing your PPE inside and out is essential.
Things like gloves, goggles, respirators.
Yeah.
Making sure you're properly protected.
Exactly. Then there are lockout-tagout procedures, knowing how to safely isolate energy sources before doing any maintenance or repairs. And, of course, emergency response. What do you do if there's a spill, a fire, someone gets hurt?
They want to know that you don't just know the rules, but that you live them.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to mention any relevant training or certifications you have. That adds credibility.
Right, makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about experience, quality, control, safety. Now let's face it, problems happen. So how do you troubleshoot anodizing process issues when they inevitably come up?
Because they do.
Right, because no matter how prepared you are, things don't always go as planned.
This question is all about showing off those problem-solving skills. So think about those common issues that can pop up during anodizing. What if the coating is uneven or there's discoloration? the finish isn't adhering properly.
How do you approach those situations?
First rule, don't panic. Walk them through your thought process. How would you identify the potential causes? What tests or inspections would you do to pinpoint the root of the problem?
You're showing them you have a system, not just randomly trying things until something works.
Exactly. And if you have any experience with process improvement methodologies like Six Sigma, definitely mention that.
Okay, good call.
It shows you're not just fixing problems, you're actively looking for ways to prevent them.
So it's continuous improvement, proactive problem solving.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help you present these experiences effectively too.
Absolutely. That interview practice feature is so valuable for crafting those compelling responses that highlight your skills and experience.
All right, let's move on to a question that might seem a bit more advanced, especially if you haven't held a senior level position before. How do you optimize anodizing processes?
Now, this one is all about showing you've got initiative and can think critically about improving efficiency and quality.
So even if you haven't been in charge of optimizing entire processes, think about ways you've improved things in past jobs.
Exactly. Maybe you found a way to reduce waste, or you reorganized your workspace to be more efficient, or came up with a better way to track production data.
It's all about showing that you're always looking for ways to do things better, even in small ways.
And don't be afraid to tie those experiences back to the anodizing process. How could those previous improvements translate to optimizing anodizing operations?
It's about making those connections for the interviewer, so important. Okay, now this next question is really interesting because it highlights a crucial aspect of modern manufacturing, especially in a field like this. How do you ensure compliance with environmental regulations when anodizing products?
This is where you demonstrate your understanding of the environmental impact of industrial processes and your commitment to responsible practices.
So what are some key things to address here?
Start by highlighting your knowledge of relevant regulations, especially those related to wastewater treatment and air emissions. Anodizing involves chemicals, so proper handling and disposal are critical.
It's not just about getting the job done, it's about doing it sustainably.
Exactly. Mention any experience you have with environmental management systems or green manufacturing practices. Even if you don't have direct experience, you can showcase your willingness to learn and adapt.
Shows you're aware of the bigger picture.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's shift gears slightly and talk about the customer. They might ask, how do you ensure customer satisfaction with anodized products?
Okay.
This one goes beyond the technical stuff and really gets into understanding customer needs.
It's about connecting your role to the bigger picture of business success.
So how do you approach this one?
Focus on the connection between quality work and customer satisfaction. Explain how you pay attention to detail. Follow procedures, meticulously conduct thorough inspections to ensure the final product meets their specs.
Because at the end of the day, a satisfied customer is a happy customer, and that's good for everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, last question for this section. How do you stay updated on anodizing industry trends and technologies?
This is your chance to shine as a lifelong learner. Show them you're not just looking for a job, but that you're invested in a career in this field.
Right. Go beyond just saying you read industry news. Talk about specific publications, you follow conferences you've attended, or want to attend professional organizations you're a member of or interested in joining.
It's about actively seeking out ways to learn and stay ahead of the curve.
And don't forget about online resources or forums where you connect with other professionals and learn about new developments.
Shows you're plugged in and eager to learn from the best.
Yeah.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
And these are just starting points. Remember, RoleCatcher can help you dive deeper into each question and tailor your answers to the specific company and role you're going for.
For sure. Their AI-powered tools can analyze your responses, give you feedback, make sure you're putting your best foot forward. It's like having a personalized interview coach right in your pocket.
That's amazing. It takes the guesswork out of interview prep.
Yeah, it does. Welcome back. So we just went through some common interview questions and how to tackle them effectively.
Yeah, and honestly, even I learned a few things about anodizing just now. It's clear this role needs a unique mix of skills. Technical skills, problem solving, and that dedication to quality and safety.
Got it. And that brings us to another key part of prepping for this interview, understanding the career path and the opportunities in this field.
Okay, so let's talk career trajectory. What does RoleCatcher say about how an anodizing machine operator's career typically progresses?
Their career guide lays out a pretty clear path. You start with entry-level positions assisting more experienced operators, getting a feel for the environment, learning the ropes.
So you can get your foot in the door, even with little or no experience in anodizing. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And as you gain experience, improve your skills, you can move up to becoming a junior operator.
Okay.
More responsibility, setting up machines, monitoring processes, conducting quality checks.
And then from there, it seems like the natural progression is to become an experienced operator. What does that involve?
At that level, you're the go-to person for all things anodizing. Troubleshooting those complex issues, training and mentoring junior operators, even working with other teams like maintenance or engineering to make sure things run smoothly.
That's a big jump in responsibility and expertise. It's pretty impressive how much room for growth there is in this role. And is there a ceiling, or can experienced operators keep climbing the ladder?
Definitely not RoleCatcher highlights that experienced operators can move into senior roles. Overseeing multiple machines and teams implementing process improvements, basically leading the charge in optimizing those anodizing operations.
So it's a real career path with multiple avenues for advancement. I bet that's super valuable for someone going into this interview. Shows them you're not just there for a paycheck, you're thinking long term.
Exactly. And that ties back into how RoleCatcher can help you show that ambition and really tailor your answers to highlight your growth mindset.
Right. We talked about their AI-powered CV and resume builder. But what about that interview practice feature? How does that work?
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket. You practice answering those tough questions, and the AI analyzes your responses, gives you feedback on clarity, content, even your delivery.
Wait, it looks at how you say it too, not just what you say.
Exactly. It picks up on things like filler words, pauses, tone of voice, helps you refine your delivery so you sound more confident and articulate.
That's incredible. It takes away so much of the stress of interview prep. You can actually practice and get real feedback before you even walk into the room.
And because it's tailored to specific job roles, you know that the feedback you're getting is relevant and in line with what those hiring managers are looking for.
It's such a useful tool. Okay, so we've covered the typical questions and the potential career path. What else does RoleCatcher highlight that someone should know when prepping for this interview?
They actually talk about some of the challenges and potential drawbacks of the role,
Interesting.
which I think is really important for going in with a realistic understanding of what to expect.
Okay, so let's talk about the challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that might be tough about this job?
One of the biggest, as we touched on, is that need for absolute precision and consistency.
Yeah.
Anodizing is a very specific process with really strict parameters. Even small variations can affect the final product.
So there's not a lot of room for error. You have to
Hmm.
be super focused and detail-oriented.
Absolutely. And you're working with chemicals, potentially high voltages, so safety is paramount. RoleCatcher really emphasizes knowing those safety protocols, but like internalizing them, making them second nature.
It's not just a checklist. It's about genuinely caring about safety for yourself and everyone around you.
Exactly. Another challenge they bring up is the potential for repetitive tasks and physically demanding work. You might be standing for long periods, lifting heavy objects, working in an environment that's not always temperature controlled.
So it's not exactly a desk job.
Definitely needs a certain level of stamina and endurance.
For sure. And then there's the troubleshooting and problem solving. We talked about machines break, processes go wrong, and you got to be able to think on your feet and find solutions quickly.
Right. It's not just about following instructions. It's being adaptable and resourceful when things go sideways.
Makes sense. And lastly, RoleCatcher highlights staying updated on industry trends and technologies. Manufacturing is constantly evolving. You got to commit to continuous learning to stay ahead of the game. It's not one of those fields where you learn the basics and you're set. You got to be proactive about expanding your knowledge and skills. So with all those potential challenges, why would someone want to pursue a career as an anodizing machine operator?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's something you should be ready to answer in the interview. But despite those challenges, there are a lot of rewards, too.
Okay, so let's talk about the good stuff.
Yeah.
What makes this career path appealing?
Well, for one, it's a skilled trade with high demand. Anodized products are used in so many industries. Aerospace, automotive construction, electronics, I mean, the list goes on.
So it's not going anywhere.
Exactly. Good job security and the potential for a stable, well-paying career. And like we discussed, there's that clear path for advancement. You can start entry level and work your way up to a senior operator. More responsibility, higher salary.
So there's room to grow in terms of skills and compensation.
That's awesome. And what about beyond those tangible rewards?
There's also a sense of satisfaction that comes from working with your hands, mastering a technical skill, and seeing those tangible results of your work.
It's creating something.
Yeah.
And that can be really fulfilling.
Exactly. And you're contributing to all kinds of industries, building airplanes, making those sleek electronic devices, It's a career with an impact. So it's a mix of technical skill, problem solving, attention to detail, even a bit of artistry.
For sure. It's a unique combo.
Hmm.
And it's a career that's constantly evolving with new tech and processes popping up all the time.
Which brings us back to that continuous learning and using resources like RoleCatcher to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Their platform is a one-stop shop for anyone looking to get into the anodizing industry or level up their career.
So they help you not just prep for the interview, but navigate your whole career path. That's amazing.
It is. And speaking of the interview, let's dive into a few more specific questions that might come up, focusing on the more technical side of the anodizing process itself.
Okay, bring on those technical questions. I'm ready to learn more about the science behind it all. All right, so we've talked about nailing the interview questions, understanding the career path. Now let's get a little more technical.
I like it.
Let's pretend we're in that interview hot seat. What are some technical questions they might throw our way to really test our knowledge?
Well, a classic one is, can you explain what happens during the anodizing process? Seems simple, but it's your chance to show you get the science behind it.
Okay, let's break it down. From what I've seen in RoleCatcher's resources, it involves creating a protective oxide layer on the surface of a metal, usually aluminum.
Right, you're basically thickening that natural oxide layer that already exists on aluminum, makes it way more durable and corrosion resistant.
So how does that happen? What's the secret sauce?
The secret sauce is a controlled electrochemical process. You immerse the aluminum part in an electrolytic bath. It's like a special chemical bath, and then you pass an electric current through it.
Ah, so it's not just dipping it in some solution, you're using electricity to transform the surface.
Exactly. And during this process, the aluminum acts as what we call the anode, which is the positive electrode. That's actually where the term anodizing comes from.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got this thicker oxide layer, but what's so great about it? What does it actually do?
Well, think about what we want from a metal finish.
Yeah.
We want it to last, resist corrosion, look good, right? Anodizing does all of that.
It's like giving the aluminum a suit of armor, protecting it from the elements and wear and tear.
Exactly. And here's another cool thing. That oxide layer is actually porous. It's got these tiny little holes, which means it can absorb dyes.
Oh, so that's how they get those vibrant colors on things like iPhone cases or laptop finishes. It's not just paint. It's actually infused into the metal.
You got it. That's why anodized colors are so durable and fade resistant. They're not just sitting on top. They're part of the metal itself.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've covered what anodizing is and why it's beneficial. Now, what about the how? What are some things that can affect the quality of the anodizing process? Things the machine operator needs to be aware of.
That's a great question. And it leads perfectly into another potential interview question. They might ask something like, what are the key factors that can impact the quality of anodized products?
So we need to show them we understand all the variables that come into play.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher's guides do a great job of highlighting these key factors. It all comes down to controlling what we call process parameters.
I'm guessing that means things like the composition of that electrolytic bath, the temperature, the voltage, how long the process runs.
You nailed it. Each of those variables can influence the thickness, the hardness, even the porosity of that oxide layer we talked about. Even small changes can make a big difference in the final product.
So an anodizing machine operator isn't just pressing buttons. They're constantly monitoring and adjusting these parameters to make sure everything is consistent and high quality.
Exactly. It's a blend of technical know-how, attention to detail, and the ability to troubleshoot when things go off track.
Speaking of troubleshooting, are there any specific questions they might ask about that?
Oh, for sure. They might give you a scenario like, imagine you're seeing an uneven coating on the anodized parts. What steps would you take to figure out what's going on?
So it's not enough to just know the process you have to be able to apply that knowledge to solve real problems.
Exactly. This is where those problem-solving skills come in. They want to see that you can think critically, systematically, illuminate potential causes, and find a solution.
So walk them through your thought process. Would you check the bath composition, the temperature, the voltage? Show them you understand the variables and you have a plan.
And don't be shy about mentioning specific testing methods or equipment. For example, you could talk about using a thickness gauge to measure the coating at different points and see if there's any major variation.
It's all about showing you have a method, not just guessing. And that's something RoleCatcher's AI interview practice can help with, right?
Totally. You can actually practice these troubleshooting scenarios with the AI and get feedback on your approach. It's like having a virtual mentor there to guide you.
Okay, so we've talked about the process, the quality control, the troubleshooting. What other technical areas might they want to explore?
They might ask about different types of anodizing. You mentioned type E, S, and 3 earlier, and each one has a different purpose and requires slightly different procedures.
Right. I remember you saying that type 3, or hard anodizing, is the heavy-duty one,
Yeah.
used for parts that need to be super durable.
Exactly. So be ready to explain the differences between those types, what they're used for, why it's important to choose the right one. It shows you understand the nuances of anodizing and can adapt the process to fit different needs.
Okay, this is all starting to click. I feel like I'm actually building a picture in my mind of the whole anodizing process and the role of the machine operator.
That's what you want. Going into the interview feeling confident and knowledgeable about the process will make you a much stronger candidate.
And that confidence will shine through. And of course, RoleCatcher's resources are a huge help in building that foundation.
For sure. They give you the insights, the practice tools, the feedback you need to prepare for those tough questions and show off your expertise.
Well, I think we've covered a ton of ground here, from the basics of anodizing to those challenging technical interview questions.
We have. And hopefully our deep dive has given you the knowledge and the confidence to rock that interview and start a really rewarding career as an anodizing machine operator.
It's a field with high demand, lots of growth potential, and the satisfaction of using your hands and your mind to create something durable and valuable.
And remember, RoleCatcher's got your back every step of the way.
So go out there, put your best foot forward, and show them what you've got. Good luck.